So thank you, Sammy Steigman, coming back for additional discussion for the Obligation of Memory podcast about Ukraine. So Sammy, you have lived as a child through Ukraine. Give us a sense of what you're feeling about the war going on in Ukraine today.
My opinions may be different than most of the other people, but I understand that you want me to be very open and honest about my thoughts. First of all, I'm going to address two issues. Number one, about Zelensky as a leader of a country, and at the same time, what's happening in Ukraine. What's happening there is absolutely a tragedy. What really scares me is understanding Putin. I don't know how far he will go, and that's he will not retreat until some concessions are made to him, unless he will be able to save face. Part of the problem is the fact that people have forgotten or do not take into account the history. If anybody remembers the Cuban crisis in 1961, when Kennedy was willing to go to World War III, to war, okay, unless Khrushchev will pull out the missiles from Cuba. He could not allow a nuclear power to be at his doorstep. We also have to understand that Putin cannot afford NATO to be at his doorstep. The United States and NATO tried to bring Ukraine to NATO to be part of it. Zelensky has to, in the West, they have to accept that Ukraine will never be part of NATO. At the same time, he has to make concessions regarding Crimea. For practical purposes, it's part of Russia, but publicly should say it is yours, okay? The thing that I do not understand is the fact that Zelensky is considered a hero worldwide. Everybody's willing to help. But the one thing that I do not understand, why does the West, why does Zelensky ask for more armament? He's not going to win against the Russian people, the Russian army. Putin is not going to occupy Ukraine. It's too big. He cannot do it. So my question is, by asking and by trying to fight Putin, okay, all it does, it prolongs the war, and more people, okay, innocent people will die. I don't understand why he cannot make the minimum concessions to have at least a ceasefire and to go any further. The other thing that I'm having with Zelensky, that's my personal issue as a Holocaust survivor. He tried to compare what's happening in Ukraine similar to the Holocaust. And I teach the young people, do not make comparisons to the past. Times were different. We did not have social media. The attitudes were different. By comparing what's happening in Ukraine, Zelensky, whether he knows or not, he is trivializing, okay, the Holocaust. The other thing is, as a Jewish person that he claims to be, it disturbs the fact that as a leader of a country, that even the Germans, the Nazis, were surprised of the cruelty of the Ukrainians towards the Jews. But obviously, Ukraine was part of the former Soviet Union. But when the Wehrmacht attacked former Soviet Union on June 22nd, 1941, guess what? They attacked, first of all, they attacked from the West, they attacked Ukraine. 1.5 million Jews were murdered there with the help of the local people. Why doesn't he accept and recognize the role of Ukraine during the Holocaust? that for me personally, I don't know about the other people, but I like to take the history into account. Also, people are not taken into account. They look only what's happening today, not understanding the history between Russia and Ukraine. It's a 200-year history, okay, of conflict and everything else. So I don't know what the future will bring, but like I said before, it's a very scary thought because from what I understand, maybe it's just a rumor, but apparently the rumor that I heard is that Putin has used chemicals, not to kill, just to make him sick. But it shows you how far, okay, he would be willing to go if the concessions are not made, and why the United States and the NATO and the European countries are supplying Ukraine, Zelensky with armament. Okay, it just prolongs the war. Putin does not care how many people will die. He doesn't care. He has a goal, and unless he is saving face. So I'm scared how far Putin will go.
Okay, thank you, Sami. I appreciate your opinion, and I'm honored to have you as a new friend. Go ahead.
Okay, so one of the things that I also want to say, okay, I want to thank Jeff, for everything that he does, and it is my honor to be in his podcast. Right. Thank you, and continue to do all the good work.
Shalom.
Shalom.